Hi, it's Chris from Chris Loves Crochet and Crochet Recreations. Question for you. Have you ever heard of Freeform Crochet? I got into it a little while ago. It's so much fun and it's so freeing. No pattern to follow. You just make whatever you want in whatever shape you want. I just started making scrumbles and then started making little purses and then a pillow and then some, not really tapestries, but hanging pieces. But before I did, I kept seeing the bullion stitch. Oh. Have you guys ever seen the bullion stitch? It is very intimidating. And I wanted to show you a very simple way of making the bullion stitch. And I will show you later on. You won't believe it. So much fun. So first, before we get to that, I want to show you a few of the things that I did. Here's one of the purses that I did, both sides and on the bottom. And did I line it? No. I got a bag that was already lined and already had a zipper on it. Made my my lining, my outside lining for it, and then just stitched it on. How clever is that? So used lots of fun yarn and did that. Did this bag. Again, did I line it? No. Did I put a zipper on it? No. It was one of those little makeup bags, may have been Lancome or something like that. Or just you can just order them. Little bags, little pencil bags. And I did some little pieces and then just sewed it on around the zipper so that it already has a zipper. Then I did a pillow. So I had all of these scrumbles. Each one of these is a scrumble that I did. And I made a pillow. Now, I made the cover of a pillow. See, it's a pillow. And then all I did was crochet it onto this ribbing that was around the edge of the pillow. And so it's my pillow. So any shortcut I can take, I take. So let me show you a few things that I've done, and then I will show you how to do a quick and easy bullion stitch. It's a true bullion stitch. It's just done a little different. Hang on, I'll show you. So these are my homeless scrumbles that I have right now. And so I'll sit around and I'll find some pretty yarn that I like, some fun yarn, and just start making some things. And then I may have something in mind and I may not. I may have a color scheme in mind and obviously sometimes I don't. Or some of these were supposed to go with the color scheme and I got a little crazy and so it didn't quite match the color scheme. I do have something that's halfway done. Couple of pieces that kind of go together. These two spiral pieces that kind of go together like little shells. And they're done in a spiral. There's no bullion on here yet. It goes in a spiral, and then I did some top stitch crochet around the spiral. And these are just there's some box stitches and then some puff stitches here. And then I outlined it in different top stitch with different yarn. But the inside yarn is the same, and it's in some really cool, very different, not something that you can just make any old thing out of yarn. It's boucle yarn. And so you have some of the yarn that's very, very thin and some big, huge chunks that come through. And I think this is one of the really coolest types of yarn to do some freeform with because it has a mind of its own. You have an idea and then it starts going someplace else. So here's one thing that I have done. Another thing, I don't know if you have a Yarn of the Month club. I do. And it's, I can't remember. Oh, Darn Good Yarn. Of course it's called Darn Good Yarn. And for a while there, I was getting some really interesting yarn, but I couldn't figure out what. Of course, they send a pattern with it, and you could always do that, and I've done that. But I got um, this sari silk that was very thick, and it's difficult to work with to make anything large other than a basket. So I made a basket, and then I had a little bit left over. So I used some of this fun yarn, and this was also darn good yarn. I think this purple was too. Um, so I just save a bunch of those off to the side until I decide to do some scrumbles. And since you're only using a little piece, it goes a long way. You can use some of that really neat, unique yarn in some scrumbles. So this was just a half circle, and then here's a box stitch that I did across here, and then I just outlined it. Just I was watching some TV show or something and made that one. Now we were talking about. Oh, here's some more. Some boucle. Also, there's some stitches, just some regular stitches. Here's a Catherine wheel. Here's just a heart. A heart. Here's a spiral, a two-color spiral, with a box stitch around the edge. And here's a funny looking kind of a leaf thing with a button, kind of another piece that I had that I then sewed it together with the yarn. And another spiral. Oh, here's a bullion stitch. Bullion stitch in a spiral. What? Look. Bullion stitch. And then I did a top stitch to really set it off. And then I did some puff V stitches around the edges. And what I wanted to say was, some of these, I just can't sit around. I can't sit and come up with an entire thing. I'm just not that creative. I'm somewhat creative, but I can't come up with an entire, all of the shapes all on my own. And so what I'll do is to get started on something is get into a book like this. A lot of us have books like this. This is Complete Photo Guide to Crochet by Hubert. And so in here, lots of pretty colorful pictures and lots of squares. And then we get into some of the different shapes, some flowers, some leaves, some interesting borders, different things that you can use in your freeform crochet. So you can just do one of those pieces, just do one page, one pattern, and change it up a little bit. This is one of the leaves that are in there, and I used a very, very different yarn than what it calls for. So you can use a book like that to just get some pieces together. And then once you get some pieces together, what I did for the purse was I laid it on some newspaper. Yes, I still make newspaper. I laid it on some newspaper and just did an outline drawing and an outline of the bottom and then an outline of the other side. And then I had this pattern that I was filling in. So once you have some pieces, you start filling in. Say they go together. They're not really. But you just start filling in. And if you have, like here, there would be an empty space. You just start, you link on with a stitch, and you start making some single crochets, half double crochets back over here, and a couple of lines, and you've got a filler. And you can see that in here. There are 5 pieces on the front here. There's this one, this flower with puff stitches, flower, heart, just a spiral, and then here's some little bullion stitches, and then just some chain stitches that makes it look like top stitches. But then all of this in here and right here, these are just fillers. So I pulled these to make, this is a spiral, but it certainly doesn't look like a circle once it's on there because I pulled it in to finish out the piece. And then I just started down in this corner, made some double crochets, like 3 out of the corner, and then made some rows, and then made a row across here, and then got gray and did the same thing across here, and then just did a single crochet all the way across the top so that I had something to use to stitch onto the bag, and then also something that I could stitch the scallop edges on. So, and then I made a little cord to go onto just a little tiny carabiner that I put in this loop that was on, I don't know what was hanging on here, but took it off and just left just this loop carabiner on, put a cord on so that I can carry this bag around. So there's some pieces, some scrumbles that you do, or some patterns that you follow, and then you put them together the best that you can to fill in a pattern, and then you start filling in the empty spaces if you don't have keys in them. And that's freeform. And there's no way I can show you how to do it because what I show you will be my freeform and not your freeform. But what I can do is show you how to make a bullion stitch that is really fun to have in these freeform pieces. This one, I had some yarn with me at Christmas to make some last minute gifts if I wanted to. I went to my sister's and of course I took yarn. I don't know what this is, but I was just sitting there watching a movie. And so I have a circle. I have some bullion stitches here, some puff stitches down here. Used 2 different kinds of yarn. Did a crab stitch across here so it stands up a little bit. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, if I'm going to do anything with it. But here's a piece. So while I was sitting there. So now I'm going to put it off to the side. I should put this to this side. Put it in my bag. I have a bag that I keep of all of my crumbles. So that when I think that I'm going to go do something with it, then I pour them all out, find those that have some of the similar yarns, and pull them all together and see if I have enough to make a small bag or a big bag or just one centerpiece that I'm going to build from. And that's what I do. So have crochet hook bag will travel, right? So here are my clover hooks right here. And I keep my scissors in here. And I have my stitch markers in here. And on the next page of my book, Fun, I have some more clovers, some bigger size clovers, and some different types of needles, of embroidery needles. And I have my pencil to mark things up, and I have my measuring tape in here, and I have my cute little tag. I see a tag. These I get once or twice, well, about once every year or two because I don't put tags in. I don't have a lot of things I put tags in because a lot of things I just keep and wear. But here's my tag. Crochet, what does it say? Crocheted for you with love and care by Chrissy. And my little elephant because I collect elephants. Does that focus? Okay. So I keep those in here with me all the time. And you might see something else in my bag here. My bag of tricks. Since I put this in here, it is a bag of tricks. This is one of those old latch hooks. A latch hook. Remember the latch hook rug? This is the trick to the bullion stitch. So I'm going to start. I'm going to use a 5.5. Say I'm going to use a 5.5. I'm going to use a 5.5 hook to get started with, and some of this pretty, because it matches things, some of this pretty yarn, and I'm going to start a circle so that I can show you the bullion using the latch hook. First you have to do some regular crochet. So I'm going to just do the magic circle. I like the magic circle for my for my centers because I know I can get them closed really well. So I just do one chain, and then I'm gonna do 10, because I'm not following a pattern. I'm gonna do 10 half double crochets. 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Just did 10 because that's what number popped in my head. And I'm gonna take this tail and pull my magic circle close, and right here in my first stitch, I am going to do a stitch and close my circle. Pull the end, and I have a pretty closed circle. Now, I'm going to chain up 2, get a little bit of height. Take out my crochet hook. Use my latch hook. Pull the yarn onto the latch hook, and I'm going to do, you can do bullion stitches with 4, 6, I always stick with even, I don't know why, a little OCD, but 4, 6, 8, 10 wraparounds. So what I'm going to do, since I only chained up 2, I'm going to do 6 wraparounds. So you wrap around your latch hook 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now you can push it down. You've got your hook closed. Your hook is closed. You're going to go through one of the stitches on your circle, your next stitch on your circle. And as you go through that stitch, make sure that you open your latch. So do you see it right here? It's open. And I put yarn over into that latch. So it's in my latch hook. I'm pulling it through. And now it's still in my latch hook, but the rest of these wrappings are not. So all I have to do is, and I use my fingers a lot of the time, my nail, to kind of push these down over that very protected yarn that we pulled through. And then I'll take my yarn, put it into my latch hook right here, and it'll close as I pull it through the top to make my 1 chain. Now I'm going to do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Keep them pretty close together. And I'm going to go into the next stitch. And so it's closed. Try not to lose any. It's closed. Go through the next stitch. Keep this little latch on the latch hook on the outside so that when you push curved side through, it opens up the latch. So you've got an open latch hook now. Put your yarn over into the hook. Start pulling it through, and that latch miraculously closes over it. Pull it through the stitch, which is not the hard part. This is the hard part, usually, but not with this trick. And so you've got your yarn over in your hook, and you just kind of push this down. Push the yarn down as you're kind of pulling with the latch hook, and you get your stitch. Now push that latch back through, and it's open. Put yarn in it, pull it through. You have your chain 1. That's it. That's how you do it. Now I'm going to do a second one in the same stitch. The thing about freeform crochet is that you don't really have to follow certain rules and certain patterns. You kind of go with the way it feels. And so I know if I go to this stitch, next third stitch, and do a bullion, it's going to be really tight, or it's going to start folding up, or there's just going to be a big gap. And so I'm going to put another one right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Into the same stitch. Push it through. Latch opens up. Push all the way through to where the latch is on the other side. Put the yarn into the hook, latch closes onto it, pull it through. You've got your yarn over in your hook. Everything else is on the outside, and you pull it through. Takes a little bit, but it's all safe. Gonna come through. Promise. Push it so the latch is through that loop, and then yarn over and pull through your chain one. And you can chain two if you want. You can chain all you want with this latch. So here's another one. One, two, oops, two, three, four, five, six. Down. We're gonna come down. When I come down to put the latch hook through, I've got to push this yarn over all the way down to the latch so that I can reach it, because I'm keeping this yarn very tight so that it's a nice tight stitch. I put the curved end of the latch hook through, the latch opens up, goes through the stitch, put the yarn over, the latch closes over the yarn over, pull it through the stitch, and now I'm pushing all of these yarn over my one, and then I chain one like that. If I wanted to start um, preparing to make a spiral, then I might start making these a little bit bigger. Like, so these are 6. So what if I do one that's 8? Do one that's 8. I know there's a lot of different ways to do a bullion stitch. Sometimes there's a chain one once you come through the stitch. Sometimes they're not. So that's 8. I'm going to do another 8, 2, 3, 4, 8, and go into the same stitch there. Sometimes you have to give it enough. Sometimes your yarn gets up onto the latch so it doesn't want to open. So just use your fingernail, pull that down a little bit so the latch has someplace to go, and it'll open. Put your yarn in the hook, closes over it, and then pull it. Just a little bit of practice, but really not a lot. Not difficult. I can't remember where I saw this. So there's another 8. An 8 wind up. What would you call it? Bullion stitch. So we're getting larger here. So I'm gonna do 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8 in this next one. There's 8, chain 1, and in the next stitch, I'm not gonna do 2 in that one. Doesn't look like I need to. I'm gonna put a 10. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Push the loop down. Pull this back so that the latch has someplace to go. The more yarn overs you do, the harder that is, obviously, because you have a longer ways to reach. And if you get it too tight, then it's really hard to push them down. But you don't want to keep these loose. When you learn to do the bullion stitch using a crochet hook, the instructions are always keep it loose so that you can get your hook through. And then you might end up with just a bunch of loose looking, and that's what I did. I ended up with these loose looking things that weren't as pretty as these nice smooth bullion stitches. I'm going to do another one of 10 in that same stitch. 7, 8, 9, 10. They're all behind the latch. All behind the latch. Push this down. Same stitch I said. Use my nail to pull this back a little bit. Get harder. Push it through. Now what kind of mess do we have? Pull it back. I think I didn't give it enough space. There we go. Okay. Pull the yarn over on your latch hook. Give it a little help. A lot of help, maybe. I'm really tight on here. There we go. All the way through. Chain one. Next. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Next. It's not a fast stitch, but I really think this is faster than the other one, and it's also more guaranteed, but it's pretty close to being guaranteed. I'm going to chain 2 here and go to the next so I can show you what I'm talking about. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Stitch. Pull it through. Draw these over. And just know that that yarn is protected inside the latch. And there it is. Chain 2, just to get around. You probably don't want that big hole in there, but I'm going to go to this next one. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You know what? 11, 12. Just because. Go in there, pull it through, pull the yarn down, and you'll get used to it. You'll get used to what kind of tension you need to keep it nice and smooth, and keep it so that it'll work off of your latch hook. So I'm going to do one more 12, and I'm going to do it in front of this chain 2 that gave me the height, and I'm going to do it in this first stitch where I did the chain 2, not where I did the first bullion, but where I did the first where I did the first chain 2. So I'm going to chain 2 here, and then do a 12. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Keep behind the latch. Go in, and I'm going to go around and behind this chain. Make sure I get the yarn in there before the latch closes, and make sure that the latch closes only on the yarn that you're pulling through. And we pull or remove the other yarn over the latch hook. And we've got something now twice the size of this 6. So now I can start spiral. So I'm going to chain 2 and then do 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 into, where am I going to put it? Into, sorry, the stitch of the bullion stitch. First V that's there, not the chain one afterwards. First V that's there. Done. Chain 1. And now you can put another one in between. An 8. I'm going to move it up pretty quickly now, so we can get to a spiral. 8. Between the 2 stitches of the previous row. Chain 1. Do 10, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All below the stitch. I'm sorry, below the hook. And I'm going to move this over so that I can see the bullions. Wait, I put that one in too. I didn't put it in the chain. Oh no. It's free. It's free form. You're free to make mistakes. Cold as sore. And chain one. And now you can keep going, and it's see the spiral on these. So we started here with just the half double crochet, and then we started with the bullion, and then we started the spiral with the bullion. So we did the bullion 6, 6, 6, 6, 8, 8, 8, 8, 8. No, that's 10, 10. And then I actually did a couple of 12s to get the height so that we can do a 6, 8, 10. And then we can just keep going around. And then when you're done, you can go back with another yarn, maybe a specialty yarn that you get from one of your yarn clubs, or that you just order because you like to have, or you have some specialty yarn you have no idea what to do with, and just do a top stitch, which can be a slip stitch around the spiral, around the spiral, so that you can see where the edges of the spiral are as you go along, so that you really make that spiral stand out like this. Oh, that's fancy. So here are my half double crochets in there, and then I did a spiral of the bullion stitches, and then I came back and did a slip stitch across the top between the rows of the bullion stitches, and then made it all the way around, and then did the puff V around. But you can go wherever you want to after that. Just go anywhere you want. Go crazy. Go crazy. And that's freeform. And that, my dear friends, is a bullion stitch that we can all do. We're in the club now. That's how I felt when I finally saw that. Because I couldn't believe there was a stitch. This sounds awful, but there was a stitch that I just couldn't do it. My fingers wouldn't do it. My hooks wouldn't do it. And when I saw it with the latch hook, I said, "Oh, I've got to try that because it's such a beautiful stitch, and it's so pretty to use some of the fancy yarns and using some free form or using a pattern. Now you know how to use it in a pattern that calls for a bullion stitch. You don't have to look at it and go, oh, it has a bullion stitch. I can't do it. So that's the bullion stitch, and this is free form, and this is free form with where I don't. There's free form with a bullion stitch right here, then a loop, and then the edging. So do whatever you want. Make some pieces. Just have fun with it. Make some pieces, and then you can think, oh, well, how about this? These colors really go well together. Let's do this color scheme, and then just make some pieces, and then see how well they fit together. We'll put some pictures here at the end of some other things that I did that don't fit on a pillow. Certainly don't fit on a purse. That well, there's only one piece that I still have. I think I might have pictures of two. That are just to hang, just to have artwork. Because this is an art, guys. Art. Have fun with it. Be creative. Just do some fun things and throw it to the side and do another one and throw it to the side and just keep going and have fun, and then see if you can make something out of it later. Just practice your stitches. Have fun. There's some other things online that you can do a search for freeform. There's a really neat one. I'll link below. That is a woman who's doing some freeform on wire to make a flower. I'll put the picture of my flower in there. Well, it's a little wimpy, but it was my first flower. But I'll put that down there, and the way she explains how to kind of make a web to fit it all together is pretty instructional. So I'll put that in the link below too, and maybe even to Darn Good Yarn, darn that in there too, because they have some really fabulous stuff. This was one of theirs. Yeah, this pink and red was a Darn Good Yarn. So is this little silk. So these are pretty fancy yarn. They're fancy. And it's really nice to have one centerpiece yarn that maybe has several colors to it. And then you find some yarns that you have on hand, and you don't have to have a whole lot. You go through your scraps and you find some that match with colors that are in your centerpiece yarn. So something like this, of course, you have lots of choices if you have in your stash of scraps some of the real brilliant colors that you could put. This was a darn good yarn. That you could make some other pieces for of solid colors. Because if you do everything in this crazy, wacky, colorful piece, then it kind of gets lost. But if you have a few pieces that are made from a colorful centerpiece type yarn, then you can really make it stand out with some solid pieces around it. So hopefully that made sense. I'm going to put some pictures in here, and I'll stop talking. It's hard for me to do. So thank you very much for your time, and we always have a choice, so please choose happy. Bye. See you next time.